Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Paolo, your geography teacher. As always, it's an honor to have you here with me on Heo Illustrata. So, without further ado, let's get to the video. Regionalization of Africa. To start off, let's talk about the concept of region, which is one of the 5 structuring concepts in geography. I talk more about this in the video that's showing up here in the card above. In short, a region is the delimitation of geographic space based on common characteristics, and it can be done according to some criteria, which can be natural, physical, economic, among others. So, all regionalization will be done based on one or more criteria. For example, in the case of Brazil, we have the regionalization models of the IBGE, Milton Santos, and Pedro Geiger, which are the main ones. But when it comes to the African continent specifically, before we get into the regionalizations themselves, let's talk about an important aspect for context, which was neocolonialism. Briefly, neocolonialism occurred in the 19th century and involved the division of Africa among the European powers of that time, which were mainly seeking raw materials and also new consumer markets. So, throughout this process, there was a great economic and cultural imposition by these nations on the African continent, as well as the modification of the continent's previous borders. Furthermore, with the subsequent process of decolonization, these borders were further modified, resulting in various cultural and economic problems. That being said, and now moving on to regionalization, let's talk about some general aspects of the African continent. First of all, the African continent is extremely diverse. This applies to cultural, ethnic, and also natural aspects. With about 30.2 million square kilometers, Africa is the 3rd largest continent in the world, stretching a great distance both north to south and east to west. Pretty easy, right guys? Now moving on to regionalization, let's talk about the one that's probably the most common in school contexts, which is the division into 2 Africas. These are North Africa, also known as Islamic Africa, Mediterranean Africa, or even Northern Africa. It's known by all these names. And Sub-Saharan Africa, which is the part of the continent located south of the Sahara. This regionalization uses the Sahara Desert as a natural divider, and human aspects like culture and religion as cultural factors. Speaking specifically about the northern portion of the African continent, it is also called Mediterranean Africa because it is bordered to the north by the Mediterranean Sea. And this region also shares many similarities with the Middle East, such as the desert climate and the large population of Arab origin. When it comes to the economy, agriculture is one of the main highlights of this region, especially in areas near the Nile River. In addition, the region is also a major producer of oil, natural gas, and other minerals. Now let's talk about Sub-Saharan Africa. But before that, if you want the mind map for this video, as well as the mind maps for all the videos on the channel, check out our kit, Mapas Mentais Geoelucidicos. These mind maps will really help you in your daily life, whether you're a teacher, a student, in basic education, or at university anyway. I'm leaving the link here in the video description. Check it out, and if it makes sense for you, go ahead and get it. Because besides boosting your studies, you'll also be helping this channel a lot. So, getting back to the video, as I already mentioned, this is the portion of the continent located south of the Sahara, and it makes up the vast majority of the continent, about 75% of its total area. And it will be marked by great cultural diversity and religious and ethnic plurality. In addition, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, neocolonialism and the subsequent decolonization of the continent radically changed the borders of Africa, causing many conflicts in the region involving the various peoples of different cultures who live there. In general, the African continent has a very ancient geological structure and is very rich in metals and precious stones. This has generated a lot of interest from other countries, especially European countries, which have always heavily exploited the African continent. So, even though Africa is a continent with great economic potential, it is still extremely poor overall. This is because of the many forms of exploitation it has suffered throughout history. We also have another regionalization of the African continent, this one made by the UN, which marked a total of 5 regions: Northern Africa, Western Africa, Central Africa, Eastern Africa, and Southern Africa, as you can see here on this little map. Remember, this is just a summary, okay guys? So obviously I made a lot of generalizations, okay? Because the goal here was exactly to give you an overview of the content. Here are two more videos, one on the 5 categories of geography and another on the regional divisions of Brazil. Thanks for watching until the end. Don't forget to like. See you next time. Bye.